Thank you very much for your time. So 10 years ago, Greece formally requested that bailout in April 2010, and 10 years later, the EU are facing a very different financial crisis. How do you think the EU should be trying to safeguard the economy of the bloc as a whole?
Well, first of all, my wishes for best of health to you and to everyone watching. This is a much more complex crisis, but there are similarities. And one, of course, is that we need to think out of the box, take sometimes unorthodox measures. The discussion about Eurobonds was discussed then and discussed now, possibly printing money. We need to act collectively and quickly as a European Union. 10 years ago, we were slow. We did too little, too late. That cost us a lot. It cost a lot of pain, and that pain we still feel today. I believe that Mario Draghi then said 2 years later, it was 2 years later when he said, we'll do whatever it takes. That calmed the markets. It's calmed the contagion in the markets. We have contagion today. I think that's one important element. I would add to that we need to get away from the blaming and shaming. At that time, it was easy to say Greece is the problem. Actually, it was a much wider systemic problem around the world of the financial system. We need to see that as we're moving into economic recovery measures, we cannot talk about one country doing better or doing less with their budget and so on. This is an emergency, and the quicker we make strong decisions, the quicker we will be able to see recovery, economic recovery in Europe. And one third point I think is very important. The measures we took then, the conditionalities we took then, of course, it helped the financial system, it helped the banks, it helped us save the Eurozone, but the burden was heavily on the weaker part of society, on the middle class, on the weaker groups. The inequality, we can see it now in this pandemic, this crisis today, that inequality in our society, the cracks in our society are there. Not everybody has the same access to health systems. Not everybody has the same access to the internet and to educational online training, loans and so on, small businesses. This cannot be repeated. We need a robust system with different types of conditionalities to make sure we have strong health systems, strong educational systems, less inequality, fighting tax havens and the concentration of wealth, a huge concentration of wealth we've seen, and linking that with future crises, such as climate change. It has to be investment which will help us deal with future possible crises to be resilient for future challenges.
You've stressed the need for urgency, saying that the EU needs to act quickly. Do you think it's going to be able to do that? Because right now, today, we've got the fourth meeting of EU leaders in this time period of the pandemic, and there's still real difficulty trying to come up with consensus on how to deal with this financially. So do you think there is the mechanism in place in the EU to be able to act efficiently as you think is necessary?
An absolutely crucial question. Within Greece, we've learned from our crisis, we did not have that political consensus inside Greece. That cost us a lot. Today, I think the Greek people have shown great maturity, a great sense of consensus, political parties, each citizen, and that's why Greece, one of the reasons Greece is doing much better. Of course, we're following the experts, the doctors, or what is necessary. We need consensus in Europe. We need Europe to work as one and to work strongly. And I think this is crucial for Europe, because what we saw in the financial crisis, actually this acrimony.
I think lots of leaders do realise that it's crucial, but they just can't get to some kind of consensus. Do you think they'll be able to do that?
Let's hope that they can, because this is such an emergency. I would say that what should be set up is some kind of a central mechanism, possibly with a commission, with where we get away from the short-term politics and look at the deeper issues of this emergency and recovery, and follow these guidelines that will help us truly get out of this very difficult situation. So I would appeal to leaders to show this unity. That will develop trust. And if we have trust in Europe, if trust is developed amongst our citizens, that will be one of the basic tools to be able to recover. Trust, cooperation is crucial in this particular crisis, as it was 10 years ago, but even more so today.
Just finally, look, Greece is a country that at the outset of this pandemic, with an elderly population, heavily reliant on tourism, fragile economy, you would expect that would be one of the countries hit worst by this pandemic. That hasn't been the case. In fact, the country might even be the envy of other European countries who have really struggled to get a handle on the pandemic. What is it that Greece has done right, which has meant you haven't had the scale of deaths that we've seen in other European countries?
We had, having gone through this crisis, another crisis 10 years ago, realized that sacrifices early on will give us better results later on. Secondly, we've created a consensus. There was a wider consensus in Greece, and people feel that working together in solidarity, we can deal with this. Certainly, of course, we will be hit, as many other countries, in tourism, in many other areas, small businesses, unemployment. That's where, of course, we will have to work together, both in Greece but in Europe, to see how we will deal with it. But yes, Greece has become an example for many other countries. I'm proud of that. And I'm proud of the Greek people for being able to have this self-discipline and solidarity. And I think it's a very important message for all of Europe.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. Former Prime Minister of Greece, George Papandreou. Appreciate your time. Thank you.